Hello, my name is Barb Henderson, and I'm going to be telling you how we're going to link Outlook to Excel to send emails. I've been working in Excel for about 15 years, both consulting and training. I have a YouTube channel that I get some work from, but lots of questions. Now, a question that I received was how do I send a long list of emails, but personalize those emails with the individual's name right on the email. And I didn't know how to do this, but because I can't say that I don't know how to do things, what I did is I went away and figured it out. Now, note, we are adding, we're linking Excel with Outlook as opposed to Excel with Hotmail or Gmail. Both can be done, but they're far more difficult to do them. And the other thing that I don't like about linking Excel to Hotmail or Gmail is to make the code work, you must have your passwords in the code itself so that they're available to anybody who wants to hack into your code and will be able to get your current email. And the reason why it's going to be your current email is that if it runs, it has to be your current email in the code. So what we're going to be doing is, like I say, we're going to be joining Outlook to Excel. Now, to link these two together, we have to use VBA. VBA isn't a big, scary thing. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be showing you the steps to set up your VBA. And there's basically the same steps for all three. And what the three topics that we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about how to send email to a list of people with their names on it. We're going to be sending email with each person gets their individual attachment from a list in Excel. And then the last one we're going to be talking about is we are going to send data from Excel. We're going to send data that's being either from a certain sheet in Excel or you filter your data to get it from Excel. And you use borders to make your data that comes from Excel more readable on your Outlook email. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to put the developer tab on our Excel workbook. And I will go through the steps on how to do that. So we have a blank workbook open here. And so how I'm going to do this is I'm going to right click on the ribbon. It doesn't matter which ribbon you're on, just right click on a ribbon. And then we are going to select Customize Ribbon. And a dialog box comes up. And so you go to the Customize Ribbons on the right side of the sheet here. You make sure that you have the Developer tab checked here. And this will install your Developer tab on your workbook. And then you click OK. Now, if you're going to save this document, once you have created VBA in it, it's not going to let you save it. It's not going to save the VBA code unless you save it as an XLSM. So, for example, when you go File and Save As, and I'll save it to my desktop. And so I am going to select the first one from the drop-down list, XLSM. So it is a macro-enabled workbook. And that's how you save this after you've got your VBA code in it. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the Developer tab. We're going to click on the Developer tab. And we're going to go to Visual Basic. And here are some functions that I have in here already. But so we're on. So make sure that you're highlighted over this worksheet as opposed to your personal workbook. And then you're going to go Insert on the menu bar, and you're going to go Module. So I'm going back to the original or the home tab on my sheet, and I'm going to work on the Excel sheet and set it up. The first thing I'm going to do is in the A1 boxes, I'm going to type in name, and then I'm going to type in here, I'm going to type in email address, and then I'm just going to quickly format them so that we know that we're talking about. Okay, so the first person I'm going to email is Mickey Mouse. So it's going to be M-I-C-K-E-Y. And then we're going to go Disney.com. And the second one I'm going to type in is Fred. And Fred Flintstone, so FF at RUX.com. So now we go back to our developer tab in Visual Basic, and we've already inserted a module here. And so now what we have to do now is we're going to name this. And so what I'm going to name this is every title starts with the word sub. So it's SUB. And then I'm going to say send email from Excel, and you can't put any spaces in there. And then I'm going to put an opening bracket and a closing bracket and press enter. When you do that, it automatically gives you the end sub, which you need a start sub and an end sub. So let's put a couple of spaces in here. Now, the first thing that we need to do is define our values. So what we're going to do is I'm going to enter a few definitions here, and I'll explain them. So I'm declaring email address as a string being a group of letters. They're not trying to do any calculations on strings. So email address, subject is string, message is string. Now what we're doing is we're declaring Outlook as an object. We're linking Outlook to Excel, and then we're declaring Outlook Mail as an object. Dim X is an integer, and this is going to be our row number, and dim name as a string. Okay, so now we've declared what our values are. Let's start setting up what our sheet's going to do. So from the start here, our lines start on the second row. So I'm going to go X equals 2. Okay, and now I'm going to do what's called a do-while loop. And so I'm saying do while this value here contains something. When it's blank, then you end the process. So the do-while loop looks like this. So do-while sheets cell, X is the row, 1 is the column, does not equal blank. So we're happy now. And so then you also have to put an end to the do-while loop. So you need to put in a loop. So we're going to go here before the end sub, and we're going to go loop. Okay, so now what we needed to do is to advance to the next row. So we want to put before the loop, we're going to put in X equals X plus 1. So whatever the row number is, we're going to add a row to it and then go back and do everything again. So we're going to go X equals X plus, plus 1. And there we have our loop. Now, what are we going to be doing in between this? The first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be calling Outlook. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a quotation mark, and then I'm going to say calling Outlook. And basically, when you put a quotation mark in front of it, this is a comment. It's just telling you what you're doing. It's not telling the system to do anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in these 2 lines of code. And I'll tab that so we have it all set up. So I'm set Outlook equals create object, Outlook application. So go to the Outlook application and create what we're wanting to do, and set Outlook mail equals Outlook app create. So we're going to create a new email on the Outlook application. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put in something so that we don't get error alerts that, oh, do you really want to send this? So what we're going to do is we're going to go application display alerts equals false. Okay, and now what we're going to do the next thing is I'm going to put in another comment is we're going to define our emails, or define our values for our email. So define email. And so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to define the values where they're going to find it. And so we go email address. So email address equals sheet 1, cells X is the row, 2 is, so it's the second column in the first row, and name is X is the row and it's the first, and then the subject is going to be the same for every one of them. Okay, and so then what we're going to do is we're going to start making the email. Okay. Now we're doing a with loop. It's a with loop. With loop is not like a do while loop. We're just doing it. We're saying when you're doing this, do it with everything within it. So with Outlook mail item. Then I want you to do a bunch of stuff. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go, okay, so I have with the email address, address, which we've declared already as our second column, and our CC is blank, our blind CC is blank, our subject is our upcoming open house. And then here, let's talk about the body. So we have hello, and then we have, and this means add something to the word hello, and so we have ampersand, and then we have a space here, quotation marks, and one space, and another quotation, and another ampersand. And then we have name. We've declared the name is whatever is in sheet 1, row 1, column 1, and then we have a couple of carriage returns. That's what the VBCRLF is. With another, so we have 2 row, and then it says, I would personally like to invite you to our upcoming open house. And then we have a couple more carriage returns. This symbol at the back means that this could actually go across forever, but what we're doing is space and an underscore, and that connects the next row. And so then we have carriage return, best regards, carriage return, and Barb. Now, then we have a dot display and a dot send. If you're sending to a list of email addresses, I always tell people to display it first to make sure everything's okay, so that you don't send out 100 email addresses that have errors on it. So the first time we're going to go through is we'll go display. When you're happy with your email, we'll take off the comment there and just go send. And then we're at our end width. And here we have our values for our loop to go around. And so what we're going to do here is we are going to go before our, at the end width, we're going to take out the email address so it doesn't keep sending to the same email. And so we're going to go address equals, okay, so it equals nothing. So now we've clean that out so we don't keep sending to the same person. We have our X equals X plus 1. And then what we're going to do is after we've finished the loops, we've finished everything, is we need to clear the fields so that we don't have anything left in our Outlook. And so I'll have the comment here. And so we're going to clear our fields. So we're going to say Outlook app to nothing and set Outlook mail to nothing. This is after we're finished all our loops. And then what we're going to do is that'll be the end. So let's see if this code is working. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go up to the top. I'm going to put my cursor before the sub here, and I'm going to press the F8 key, and then we will go through all of our code as we're going. So now it's going to display the message. So this is what my Outlook mail looks like. It says, "Hello, Mickey. I would like to personally invite you to your upcoming open house. Best regards, Barb." So it worked fine. So now we know that it works on the one. So what we're going to do is I'm going to, with my cursor in front of the end width, I'm going to press F5 to continue running the code. And then again, and now I get Fred Flintstone. "Hello, Fred. We would personally like to invite you to our upcoming open house. Best regards, Barb." So this works just fine. So that's how you send emails with personalized names on the top. And we'll go on to the next section. So our next little example is sending email from a list in Excel with different attachments for each email. Now, this one didn't come from my YouTube channel. This came from another lady that in one of my networking groups in a Chamber of Commerce group. They she thinks that she knows as much Excel as I do, and of course my ego was telling her that I know more than her. And she was asking me if I knew a way to send a long list of emails with each one having a different attachment from Excel. And of course, I couldn't answer her no, so I went away and figured this one out. And since I have figured it out, I have used it many times. It was a nice little discovery that I have made. But basically, the only reason I figured out how to use this was my ego was having a problem. So let's get started creating something for sending attachments to each email. So I'm back on our email sheet where I have another book one here, absolutely blank file. And so in the A column, I'm going to put the email address here. So let's put some headings in here, email. And then I'm going to put subject in here. And then I'm going to put attachment in here. So what I'm going to do, I'll just make these headers a little dark so I can see them. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, good old Mickey Mouse, so I'm going to Disney.com, and I am going to make an individual subject, so I'm going to say green. Green is my subject on this one. And the attachment. Now, I have a file on my desktop that I have things in here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the green.pdf as my attachment for Mickey Mouse. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in exactly what the file says. So I'm going to put green, make sure that you're case sensitive because VBA is very case sensitive and it drives me nuts sometimes. .pdf. Okay, and then Fred Flintstone is going to get so FF at Rocksr Us. And he's going to get a file called the talk. Okay, and now the talk, if we bring this up again, talking, make sure I get it right. talking is a doc file, so it doesn't matter. The first one, green, is a PDF, and the second one is talking is a Word file. So I'm going to, case sensitive again, make sure that you're correct in this. Okay, so let's make this a little wider. That's it. Okay, so we're now already set, ready to go. So now let's go to our Developer tab. Let's go to Visual Basic, and let's go Insert Module. All right, so what I'm going to call this as is sub send with attachment. And I'm going to go opening bracket, closing bracket, and press enter. And there, once again, it gives me my my closing sub. So let's put a couple lines in here. And so the first few lines are the same. So I'm just going to copy them in. And they're exactly the same from the last one. So once again, we're declaring our strings, and then we're declaring Outlook app as an object, and we're declaring Outlook mail item as an object. But now we put a new one in. We declare dim file name as a string. So that's the name of your file. And then we're dim my attachments as an object. And then I'm going to put in another one, which is declaring a path. And now that's where we're going to find our files. So I'm declaring dim path as a string. And I'm declaring an attachment as a string. And then I'm doing the same one as last time, dim x as an integer. Okay, and one more time I'm going to say x equals 2 because we have heading rows in there. And then let's go. So once again, we're going to do while loop and do while x1, which is our email address. While it's not blank, do the following. Okay, so now one more time, we have our 2 for opening lines. That's exactly the same from the last time. Okay, now we have to add in a new line. What we're doing is we're set my attachments. So what we're doing is we're going set my attachments equal Outlook mail attachments. Okay, so now what we have to do is I'm going to put a comment in here, and we're going to define our path. Okay, and so now what we're going to do is we'll go back to where we have our files stored. Remember, we took it off the folder off my desktop. Okay, and so to get our path, we're going to go, first of all, we're going to type in here, we're going to go path equals. And now we're going to go back to our file folder. And we're going to go up in the address bar of our Windows Explorer window. And we're going to click there. And it highlights exactly what the path is. So see users, Scream and Acre, OneDrive, desktop, invoices. So we're going to copy that. And what we're going to do is it's giving me an error message because it doesn't think the message is complete. And so we're going to put a quotation mark, and then we're going to go Control V. Now, big emphasis here. To finish this line, you need to have a backslash and a quotation mark. I have shown this to many people, and this seems to be one of the biggest things that they have a problem. So you find out where you find out your path, and then you make sure you have a a backslash and a quotation mark. All right, so now let's go and then we're going to define the cells that are in our workbook, and we're going to find the email address. So we're defining the email address as sheet 1, column 1. We're doing the subject as sheet 2, column 2, and the file name is what we have in sheet 1, cells, column 3. Okay, so now how we want the system to find the email addresses that or to find the files that we're attaching is we're going to attachment equals path plus file name. So we're basically adding whatever we have in there to what we've defined as our files or our path here to whatever's in our file name on the sheet. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're setting up our email. We don't have a with statement now, so we have to declare, or we have to do the whole line saying Outlook mail equals, or Outlook mail items. So I'll just copy it in. Okay, so because we don't have a with here, we have to say Outlook mail dot to equals e-address from our sheet, and the blind carbon copy and blind carbon copy are blank. And then we have our subject, which is different for each one. And then we have our body equals please find your statement attached, carriage return, best regards. And then we say my attachments add. This is new. Okay, and then I have Outlook mail display, which I always tell you to do first. And then when you're happy with your Outlook mail after you've displayed it, you can use Outlook mail send. Okay, so now we have to do is we have to clear our email addresses. So I'll put in, so this is another comment, so I'm putting a single quotation mark around it. So I'm clearing my email address. I'm adding one, so we go to the next row in our loop. And then the final thing we do is what we did in the last one, is we are going to clear our fields. And just tab that over and tab this over. So there we go. So let's run through this and see whether we get everything working the way they were supposed to be working. So I'm going up to the top, I'm putting my cursor in front of the sub, and I'm pressing the F8. So it's going through all of the list. It's checking out the attachments. It's checking out the path for where the files are located. It's checking all of what's on the worksheet here. It's writing our letter, add attachments, and then display. So that went quick, so let me pull it up. So Mickey Mouse, and then we've attached green.pdf, and then we have a simple message, please find your statement attached, and best regards. Okay, so we're happy with how that looks. So what I'm going to do is I am going to click there and press F5. And it will, so I ran it and we got the second one. I did have to go back and change, I have to learn how to type one of these days, and I didn't have the L before talking, but it works fine when you have the typing correct on your code. So that is how you send a different attachment to each one on an email list that's in Excel. So let's go on to the next item. The third little item that I am going to discuss is putting borders on data that you're sending from Excel. Now, this did come from a contract that I got from my from my YouTube channel. And what I was doing for this gentleman was I was filtering data from his Excel sheet, and then I was sending it to whoever he was on his list to be sent to. The problem was the data that I was filtering from his Excel sheet went onto the Outlook email, and it looks quite similar to this, maybe with even less lines on it. And so it was difficult for the person to read and figure out what they were talking about when he sent them data. So he requested that his data have both heading lines or the header rows on it and the cells that are broken up to make the data far more easy to read. And so once again, my ego was at a problem because I didn't want to tell him you couldn't do that. So I went away and figured out how to do it. And this is what I'm going to show you how to do next. So for this gentleman, the data I filtered landed up on a sheet. I copied it to this sheet, and it looked very similar to this. And so when I copied it when I sent it on the Outlook email, it was very difficult to decipher. So the first thing that we need to do on this sheet with the data on it is you have to manually go and select all the cells, and then you're going to go to the borders button and you're going to go all borders. When you copy the data right from Excel, it's not going to have any borders. And the other thing that I'm going to do is I am going to select the heading row, and I'm going to put a color background on there. Let's put, blue's nice. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to send this data in an email, but we want to send all the borders with it. And so let's go to the Developer tab. Let's go Visual Basic, and we're going to insert module. Okay, so I'm going to call this one send data, opening bracket, closing bracket. And let's put a couple more spaces in. Our opening lines, our declaration lines are basically the same, so I'm going to copy those in here. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use the with statement, and so we're going to go with new email. And then I'm going to basically set up the email like we have before. So I'm going to go, so the sheet 1A2 is where our email address is added. Carbon copy is blank carbon copy. Subject is data, and please find the requested information, regards. And so that's all pretty normal. But now we have some new lines that are totally different from what we've done before. So the next two lines are, we're setting up for it to take what we have on our sheet. So what I'm going to put here is I'm putting set XL inspect as new email get inspector, set page editor as XL inspect word editor. And so we're calling up some Word VBA, which isn't my strong suit, but it works in this case. Okay, and so now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our worksheet, and we're going to decide which cells we're going to copy. So I'm going to go A4 to I9. So let's go over to here, and let's go sheet 1. Dot range, and then we go A4 full colon. Just a minute, I forgot to put quotation marks on here. To I9, quotation marks into brackets, and then I'm going to go dot copy. Okay, or I'm going to press tab so it can type for me. And there we go. So now we're going to call up another set of new things that we haven't called up before. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the page editor. Okay, so page editor application select start, and we're getting it from the body of our worksheet, and we're page application selection and page editor application start. So now page editor application selection paste and format. Paste and format is something I got from the VBA word editor. Paste and paste special is all you're going to get in Excel, but paste and format is coming from the from the Word VBA, which took me a while to find it, but I'm happy I did. Now, now we're going to go. Now, for some reason, you need to display before you copy this information in, and then display after it. I don't know what the reason is, but it doesn't work if you don't have two displays in here. So I've got the body and I have display, so I have the message, excuse me, displayed without the information copied in, and then I'm going to ask it to display again. So we're doing dot display again, so we're displaying it twice. And I have commented out the dot send, and then we're doing page editor equals nothing, set X inspector equals nothing, and then we're ending with, and then we're going to clear out our fields. So once again, we're going to set new email to nothing. And set our Outlook to nothing. So let us go through this. So I'm starting at the top, putting my cursor before the sub, and I'm pressing the F8 key. And it's happily going along. Okay, so now here we have our email, and it's got nothing in it. All it has is MickeyMouseDisney.com. Okay, so now we go on to the next, and we F8, continue F8ing. And we're telling it to copy that range of data. And then, and there it displays. There you have your data formatted the way you want it, and on the page with the borders on it. There is a couple of things I needed to add here. It is very difficult to get your data to appear anywhere but where it is now. So if you want to have your data before your text, you're going to have great difficulty. The other thing too is if you have an automatic signature on your email, for some reason, the data that you copy onto your email will always seem to block your automatic signature. So those are two extreme heads up on this. You can sometimes get your signature to appear on the data or on your sheet, but the signature will appear up here before your data that appears on your worksheet. Heads up on that. So this actually works really well to send data with the borders. Now, we're practically finished our code here. I don't need to run it again because we're only sending it to Mickey Mouse. So there we are. We're right through it. So that is how you send your data with borders and with the headings on your data in your Outlook from email, from Excel. We'll finish up in the next section. I would like to thank you for watching my presentation. If you're going to try to do this, I suggest that you try with the easiest email code that I showed you. I will include all of the code in my manual that goes with this course. Please make sure that you do the display before you send all your messages. It's a big heads up. You'll have people hating you if you have to send things 3 times to them. Please check me out on my YouTube channel, and I will talk to you later. Thank you.